It's no surprise that a game like God of War Ragnarok has some very difficult, engrossing, and entertaining boss battles. There are over 50 boss fights to keep Kratos and Atreus on their toes as they fight against fate and the Aesir gods. But the finest boss fights are the ones that challenge the player and deliver an exciting and demanding experience. Of course, some are tremendously difficult, yet they are fundamentally rewarding and part of the game's fierce appeal. So here's our ranked list for top God of War Ragnarok bosses. Number 10. Freya. The game starts off with Freya on her back, hell-bent on getting her revenge. The problem with Freya's vanities, or Valkyrie form fight, is that she just never stops attacking. When she's not hitting you with a flurry of strokes with her sword, she's creating distance with magical arrows. To make matters worse, the poison pools she makes can damage Atreus, depriving you of his summons, arrows, and overall assistance. Number 9. Garm. After Atreus frees Garm, a gigantic and vicious wolf in Helheim, you just know that you're going to have to fight him sometime down the road. In the following chapter, Reunion, players are forced to face this massive and ruthless opponent. Garm's boss battle isn't mechanically unfair, but it is a true test of endurance. He defends himself with his full body in chains against Kratos. This leads to one of the game's longest boss encounters, as Kratos and Atreus follow the wolf across hell. In fact, the final fight is so long that Kratos and Atreus devise their own strategies for attacking the beast as the fight progresses. And the only way to defeat him was not by killing him, but by fusing his soul with Fenrir. Number 8. Gall RAB of the Ashes and golrab of the Frost. God of War 2018 had a variety of trolls for Kratos and Atreus to defeat, but their presence in God of War Ragnarok is scarce. Only 3 of them appear along your journey, but 4 are hidden away as super secret bosses. You'll have the greatest difficulties with Gall RAB of the Ashes and golrab of the Frost out of the 4, as they only take significant damage from their opposite elements. You'll need to switch between weapons rapidly and on the go, taking care not to waste time and energy hitting the wrong adversary with the incorrect weapon. You'll also have to battle them both at the same time, which won't be easy. They can and will group up on you if you're not careful, so you have to keep moving and never let one out of your sight. Number 7. Thor. Many games start slowly, but God of War Ragnarok is not one of them. The first hour of God of War Ragnarok is ferocious, with players battling Thor through the sky of Midgard and slamming into monuments like they're nothing. The first fight against Thor pits the god of thunder against the Spartan ghost in a brawl. The fact that players may not be comfortable with the combat yet makes this encounter challenging, as they will be flung about and pummeled by Thor. Their shield also breaks during the fight, and Thor will constantly belittle Kratos as inferior, all while regenerating health. Number 6. Heimdall. The fight with Heimdall is a test of endurance, patience, and skill. Not only that, but it requires the expert use of Kratos' newest weapon, the Draupnir Spear. This boss encounter is divided into 3 stages, each of which gets progressively difficult. To make matters worse, Heimdall possesses the skill of foresight, which allows him to predict outcomes and make it really difficult to hit him. As a result, you won't be able to harm him unless you solve a puzzle using the Draupnir Spear's timed exploding projectile strikes. Even when you do begin to damage him, Heimdall is no slouch. He is quick and has access to Bifrost, which is one of the key abilities that he uses frequently. However, Heimdall is most deadly in the last phase, since his tactics are more unpredictable and can throw you off if you've become used to his prior maneuvers. Number 5. Nidhogg. Few Norse monsters are as iconic as that of Nidhogg, and this time Kratos has Freya to back him up in his fight. It possesses a large health pool, as befits a monster tasked with guarding the roots of the 9 kingdoms. It also possesses massive area of effect strikes that make greedy players regret their jump-ins. Keep in mind though that patience is the key to defeating Nidhogg, and the fact that Freya will tell players about the ideal time to attack. On the other hand, going in and rushing only ends with a trade of damage that Nidhogg wins. The fight is particularly designed to reward a calm and composed gamer. Number 4. Hrist and Mist. This being the final fight before Ragnarok reminds players why the Valkyries were such a headache in the previous game. Not only that, but there are now 2 of them, and both are dead set on preventing Kratos from fulfilling the prophecy. They are always on the offensive, employing hit-and-run tactics, teaming up for combos, and attacking with their wings like past Valkyries. Furthermore, the combat includes numerous stages and requires you to temporarily shift your emphasis to helping Atreus. Topping off the challenge is the fact that the duo will heal after their collective health is brought low enough. This will make their battle feel even more difficult. And while the final payout will be well worth it, you'll be physically and psychologically exhausted by the end. Number 3. Odin. The game's last boss should always be challenging, and the All-Father presents the player with just that. Odin, unlike his brutish sons, battles like a trickster, throwing a number of spells to confuse and injure the player. His strikes were plentiful and caused a significant amount of damage, forcing the player to dodge frequently. Certain stages additionally render the All-Father invulnerable, making jump-ins much more difficult than usual. The battle against Odin requires the player to employ all of the lessons they've learned and weapons they've acquired to put Ragnarok to an end. Number 2. Hrolf, the Berserker King. Valkyries, like trolls, rarely appear as opponents in Ragnarok, but in their place are the equally fearsome Berserkers. Each one offers something unique to the table, and they will put your reflexes to the test with a wide range of maneuvers. But you'd realize sooner or later that the worst of them all is Hrolf, King of the Berserkers, and the last of these evil monsters you'll need to defeat. And now the topper of the list at number 1, we have Na, Queen of the Valkyries. As one of the last remaining threads of Odin's influence, Na is by far the most difficult boss in the game. The new Valkyrie Queen brings back memories of the long hours spent fighting Sigrun, but Na is significantly nastier and has a range of new tricks under her sleeve that Sigrun did not. Na's amazing speed and fury in her assaults is a lethal combo. You'll barely have time to respond to one hit before another comes flying at you. Furthermore, the time between her combinations is so short that missing even a single block, parry, or dodge is a sure way to get knocked out. With Na's death, you may rest easy knowing that the biggest threat in the 9 worlds has been eliminated. How did you do against these bosses? What order would you give them? Let us know in the comments. We'll see you in a while because we're still stuck at the Berserker King fight. Adios!